Hello, my name is Andy Best, and I'm going to talk to you about OBJEKTI, an annual outdoor contemporary sculpture exhibition in Espoon Keskus, suburban area near Helsinki, Finland. The discussion is framed around the question of what is public space, public art, and the public. Who do we make art in public for, and why should we? OBJEKTI is organized under the banner of Espoon Keskus, a virtual art organization and initiative set up to bring critical contemporary art close to ordinary people's lives. The Kunsthalle, or art hall, is traditionally conceived of as a building for presenting upcoming and established visual artists to citizens. Espoon Kunsthalle is a concept, not a place. Art is taken to where the people are, places like shopping centres, city squares, parks, beaches, libraries, schools, old people's homes, and hospitals. Artists committed to taking art out of the gallery and into the streets believe they are taking a radical stance, confronting ordinary people going about their everyday life. But who is this audience? And do we have a right to invade the public space? Is art in public space any different from art inside the gallery or museum? What steps can we take to make sure that this art is different and engaging? Is our audience different from their audience, whoever they may be? Why should we care where our art is shown? And is anyone interested? Susan Lacey has asked, is public a qualifying description of place, ownership, or access? Is it a subject or a characteristic of a particular audience? Does it explain the intentions of the artist or the interests of the audience? The inclusion of the public connects theories of art to the broader population. What exists in the space between the words public and art is an unknown relationship between artist and audience, a relationship that may itself become the artwork. Artist Thomas Hirschhorn thinks of his publicly located art projects as gifts, drawing on Bataille's description of the potlatch from theories developed 100 years earlier by sociologist Marcel Mauss. As opposed to the commodity exchange of goods or services, a gift sets up a different kind of interaction and expectation. The gift giver demands a response. According to Mauss, to refuse to give or to fail to invite is, like refusing to accept, the equivalent of a declaration of war. It is a refusal of friendship and intercourse. Hirschhorn states, I want to make a lot, give a lot. I want to do that in order to challenge the other people, the viewers, to get equally involved, so that they also have to give. OBJEKTI then is a gift to the local people, one we hope is accepted and engaged with. One of the guiding principles for selecting works for OBJEKTI is that the works function within the social, political, and cultural location that they are situated within. The majority of works were not made originally for this exhibition, but by sensitivity and awareness of the historical and social context, works can be used as social signifiers, bringing new awareness to everyday surroundings and revealing hidden narratives. Many believe that contemporary art can be a driving force for change. Already in the 1950s, Yoshihara Jiro founder of Gutai, literally embodiment art movement in Japan, stated, "It is our deep-seated belief that creativity in a free space will truly contribute to the development of the human race." Writing in 1956, Alan Capro envisioned a new kind of art that dealt with everyday life itself. Objects of every sort are the materials of the new art. Paint, chairs, food, electric and neon lights, smoke, water, old socks, a dog, movies, 1,000 other things that will be discovered by the present generation of artists. Not only will these bold creators show us, as if for the first time, the world we have always had about us but ignored, but they will disclose entirely unheard of happenings and events, found in garbage cans, police files, hotel lobbies, seen in store windows and on streets, and sensed in dreams and horrible accidents. An odor of crushed strawberries, a letter from a friend, or a billboard selling Drano. 3 taps on the front door, a scratch, a sigh, or a voice lecturing endlessly, a blinding staccato flash, a bowler hat. All will become materials for this new concrete art. End of quote. Capra magnificently foretold the development of a multitude of relational forms of art making that would not emerge until many years later, and are indeed still current today. He understood the forbidden and unspoken desire held by many artists of his generation to move outside the rigid boundaries set up by the dominant gallery-based art world. Henry Lefebvre regards the capitalist system as a colonialization of both the producer, worker, and the consumer as one and the same person. The exploitation that was once directed at the colonized territories is now focused on the everyday life of populations in the industrialized nations. When once every aspect of everyday life was symbolic, every action, everything had meaning. In contemporary life, symbol has been condensed into monuments to power. Churches and cathedrals, museums and public buildings of state are loaded with symbols of power, whereas, on the other hand, in working class neighborhoods, in the districts near factories, and in factories themselves, there are few monuments, if any. Symbols have disappeared, which means that everything symbolizes power and oppression, and in a hideous way. Nature has disappeared, and culture is invisible. Here, everything becomes a signal. The signal to start work, and the gestures while working, and the gestures which maintain the workforce. End quote. For Lefebvre, everyday consumer behavior is defined by this symbolism. Thus, the basis of consumer behavior and the desired outcome of neoliberal market-led economics is understood within this paradox. The citizen is slave to his own actions, producing, consuming, and believing in the system. Raised to its zenith, fetishism attains a kind of splendor, and in an astonishing subterfuge, things, goods, and objects join forces with symbolism again to become the symbols of wealth and pleasure without limits and without end. Sanctified, goods coincide with the spectacle which they and their advertisements offer. Consumption gleams all in its hallowed splendor. End quote. Espoon Keskus is historically and socially important, yet in many people's eyes, it's one of the least desirable areas in the city. The area includes the medieval Espoon Cathedral, which dates back to the 15th century, as well as the city's bureaucratic heart, represented by 1970s concrete brutalist architecture. There's a lot of lower income housing in the area, both private and publicly owned, with a higher than average immigrant population. This is also reflected in the retail provision, with ethnic food stores spread throughout the area. Currently, there's an effort to revitalize the area with a lot of new construction work being carried out. The new Entressa shopping centre, together with the renovated Espoon Torre, have energised the whole area. New private and public housing developments continue to spring up as the city tries to change the public perception of this part of Espoo. Although a historical and bureaucratic centre, this area has had very little cultural activity. All theatres, galleries and museums are concentrated in Tapiola, a highly regarded functional modernist garden city suburb about 15 kilometres away. OBJEKTI therefore treads carefully between the neoliberal intentions of conservative politicians who see art as one spanner in a gentrification toolkit, and our ambitions to serve as a catalyst for social and political empowerment for local people. Although this year, due to the restrictions brought on by the COVID-19 situation, all children's workshops as part of OBJEKTI have been cancelled. Previously, we've organised many different types of workshop activities. The majority have been aimed at school-aged children. There have been trash lab events for all ages to repair broken consumer items, as well as debates and discussions on philosophy and art. Collaboration with local actors has been especially important. Particularly, Entressa Library and its juxtapositions space acts as an inspiring social hub, with activities for all ages as well as special spaces for young people to hang out. Trapeza, another one of our collaborators, is an open living room for people of all backgrounds, funded by the Orthodox Church. They have a special focus on providing assistance to women from immigrant backgrounds who are often isolated from the wider society. A system based around money as its central value means that all aspects of culture are also evaluated through the same financial lens. What is the financial benefit of such and such a thing? Culture is just another commodity to buy and sell, divorced from its origins. Today, we are all too aware of branding as a term used to market a product or place to potential visitors and customers. If we think back to peasant farmers in medieval times, how would they have identified with their home village? They would have understood the rhythms of the year, crop rotations and harvest times, the local festivals and seasons. They would have had a respect and understanding for local power hierarchies, landlord and church. All this would have been seen within their small and limited world view, probably no more than as far as the nearest town, if that. Today, we live in a globalized world where every last bit of information is available instantaneously. Through social media, I come into contact with people and places I would never, even a few years ago, ever had reason or method to hear about. Tweets connect thousands instantly with the thoughts of the great and the good. The concept of the commons has made the leap from the physical, geographical domain, where it has unfortunately run its course, to the digital world, which ironically is the current battleground for freedom of speech and freedom of information. Ironically, because the internet is built upon servers and software, mostly developed and run from the United States, the country most known for free enterprise and private ownership. US citizens like to talk about the founding values of the United States, but we cannot forget the genocide and forced enclosure of land that once was also deemed common by the Native Americans. Driving through New Mexico, I was struck by the vastness of the landscape until I noticed the barbed wire fences run continuously along the roadside with strategically placed signs warning private, trespassers keep out. The notion of the wild open prairie is long gone. On the other hand, in the Nordic countries, the concept of every man's right is still upheld. Anyone can wander in the countryside freely, pick wild berries and mushrooms as they like, so long as no permanent damage is caused to the property. In Espoon Keskus, we see a different flow of people than in the center of Helsinki, for example. We have a slower pace of life. Although the main public places are privately owned shopping malls, the security guards only remove the most persistent drunks and drug addicts. Many of the local people are long-term unemployed and pensioners. There are a large number of recent immigrants from Africa and the Middle East. The far-right True Finns political party tries to foster populist anger against these immigrants, but generally, trouble is caused more by overindulgence in alcohol than through racial tension. The pressure of new residential and commercial developments is aimed to bring in new, more desirable, read well-off white middle-class inhabitants. So who is the city for, and who defines how the public space is used? Does access to contemporary art empower local people? Or is it one part of the toolkit for gentrification? Whose story of legitimization is being narrated into the symbolic level of representation within the architect's and designer's work? Are the public spaces and the outlook of the city ruled by the private sector's speculative and commercial interests, the building contractors and multinational investors who own these properties? Is the city symbolically and physically accessible on equal terms for adults, children, the elderly, and the disabled? Who sets the parameters of good taste or the modes of power through choices of material, form, and symbolic representation? Now in its 6th year, OBJEKTI aims to bring challenging art into the everyday lives of local people, provoking and challenging them to look at their surroundings with fresh eyes. Surprising juxtapositions, new materials, shapes, forms, placed into the city landscape can help to trigger positive emotions and open thoughts and eyes to new horizons. Artworks included over the years reflect the title and theme of the exhibitions. Object. An object can be a thing. It can also be something that triggers emotion, or it can be a goal or aim we strive towards. In computer programming, an object is a data structure. Sculpture of all the arts is associated with physical presence, with being a thing in space. We particularly look for artworks that challenge the notion of objectivity in public space. Outdoor and environmental sculpture, performance and participatory projects provide a wide range of experiences. They offer local people intellectual, emotional, and social experiences as they confront the works in the urban environment. The artworks bring surprising and fun confrontations in the midst of everyday life. The artworks and artists selected for OBJEKTI exhibition highlight the diversity of thinking within contemporary art practice through shape, color, and form, as well as the relationship to the audience, both in terms of critical thinking and social perspectives. Participating artists represent both those who are established in their careers, as well as up-and-coming artists just starting out. As curators, we look for works that will activate a particular location. One strategy we have used successfully is to take drawings, paintings, comics, and photographs and have them printed as large-scale banners. These works can then address new audiences who would never have seen them in their original format. Sculpture, of course, presents a physical presence in the public space. As previously mentioned, the intention is for the works to create a personal dialogue with the location, one that is fitting and sensitive. Many of the works deal with critically important topics such as climate change, mass extinctions, and the migrant crisis, yet relate to them in poetic, creative ways. Other works ask us to question time, existence, and our place in the world. Espoon Keskus and the surrounding area provide a unique backcloth with a rich diversity of environments, ranging from the pastoral church park near the Espoon River and Cathedral, through dreary 1980s housing blocks to the brutalist 1970s Civic Centre. There are locations suitable for every type of artistic intervention. And this is what makes OBJEKTI special. Each year the works are different, the locations change, and the area once again is revitalized. Thank you.